You're 7 when a man in a black coat visits your village and says the mountain took your sister. He doesn't say demon, he says the mountain. Everyone nods like that's an answer, like the mountain is a weather pattern instead of something with teeth. You remember thinking the mountain never took anyone before that winter, that it took her the same week strange lights were seen on the ridge, and nobody wants to connect those two facts out loud. You learn early that some silences are just silences, and some silences are agreements. You're 9 when the same man comes back. This time he looks at you the way a butcher looks at livestock, measuring, not seeing. He crouches down to your height and asks you to swing a stick at him. You do. He nods slowly, like you've passed something. He tells your parents you have potential. Your mother cries into her sleeve. Your father shakes the man's hand like he's just been handed a gift instead of a debt. You don't understand yet that potential is just a polite word for useful, and that being useful to someone more powerful than you rarely ends with things going your way. You're 11 when you start training under an older swordsman who lost 2 fingers and never explains how. He drills you until your arms shake, then drills you again. One evening, exhausted, you ask him plainly why you were picked. He tells you you've been chosen for the Corps, and he says it warmly, like it's a compliment you should carry with pride. You'll spend years figuring out that the real word, the one used in ledgers and quiet officer meetings, is sent. Sent because your village had one mouth too many. Sent because families with land and heirs don't offer up their sons. Sent because someone has to stand in the gap between the demons and the people who actually matter to the system. Chosen is just the word that goes in the letter home so her mother can be proud instead of afraid. You're 13, the first time you see a Hashira up close. He crosses the training yard like the dirt itself should apologize for being under his boots. Every instructor straightens their spine without being told to. Someone near you whispers his name the way people whisper the names of gods they've never met but still fear. You feel something settle in your stomach. Not admiration exactly, more like arithmetic. You understand, without anyone saying it, that his name will end up carved into something. You're 15 when you finally pass your final trial and receive your blade. There's a small ceremony. People clap. Your instructor says a few words about honor and duty and the weight of the uniform. You nod along, because nodding is safe. Because you've already noticed that the ones who ask too many questions about what happens to Slayers who don't come back get quieter and quieter mentions in conversation, until they're not mentioned at all. You don't ask. You already know the answer isn't a mystery. It's a number. It's already been accounted for in the training quotas. You're 16 on your first real mission, and it's nothing like training. You watch a demon go through 2 members of your unit before the Hashira assigned to the region even shows up. When he finally does arrive, he ends the fight in less time than it takes to explain what happened. Everyone around you treats it like a miracle worth retelling for years. Nobody mentions that you and your unit spent the whole night bleeding into the dirt so he wouldn't have to arrive tired. That night, you understand your job for the first time. Really understand it. It was never to win the fight. It was to survive long enough or die slow enough that someone stronger has time to get there. You are the 17 when you're assigned to a new unit after your old one is quietly reorganized, which is the word they use instead of there weren't enough of you left. You meet the replacements. They're younger than you were when you started. One of them calls being posted here an honor. You don't correct him. You remember being him. Correcting him would mean explaining something he'll have to learn the same slow way you did, and there's no kindness in ripping that away early. Some truths only land when your own body teaches them to you. You're 18 the first time you hear his name spoken in a briefing room. Low, almost swallowed before it's fully said. Like saying it clearly might reach him somehow. Muzan. Your commanding officer explains, flatly, what tends to happen to lower-ranked Slayers who cross paths with him directly. Not demons serving under him. Him. And for once, the room goes fully silent. Not the disciplined silence of training, but something closer to fear with nowhere to go. You do the math without meaning to. If he ever finds you, you have hours, not days, and nothing strapped to your side is built to stop what he is. It's built for the things beneath him, the smaller horrors, the ones your rank was designed to handle.
You are not equipped for the thing at the top of the chain. And the plan for you, should it ever happen, was never for you to win. It was for you to last long enough to send word so someone else can arrive and be the one remembered for it.
You're 19, the first time something ugly rises in your chest, and you let it exist just for a moment. The Hashira eat properly between missions. They sleep in real beds. Their names get written into scrolls people will study centuries from now. You and your unit sleep in ditches half the season and get remembered, if at all, as line items and casualty counts. You let the resentment sit there, hot and honest, for exactly as long as it takes to breathe out slowly. Then you bury it, because you've already watched what happens to slayers who let that feeling show on their faces too often. They get reassigned somewhere worse, or they get quietly not reassigned at all, and nobody explains where they went. Resentment is a luxury item, and you were never issued the budget for it. You're 20 the first time you seriously consider leaving. You lie awake, calculating it like a real plan. You know the terrain better than most officers. You know which roads have no checkpoints this time of year. You could be 3 villages away before anyone even notices your bunk is empty. And you remember your mother, still alive, still in that same first village, still believing her son was chosen for something honorable. And you remember how the Corps treats families of deserters, quietly, thoroughly, without ever needing to raise its voice about it. You're not staying because you believe in the cause anymore. You're staying because the price of leaving is a bill someone else would...
You're 21 when a demon almost gets you for the first time. Really almost. Close enough that you feel its breath before your blade lands. You survive by luck as much as skill. Afterward, nobody debriefs you about how you felt. They debrief you about tactics, what worked, what to repeat. Your fear isn't data. It isn't useful to anyone's report. You start to understand that your inner life was never part of the job description. Only your output was.
You're 22 when a scout who once fought alongside a Hashira, one of the names already being written into the histories being drafted right now, tells you almost gently that footmen like you don't get names in those records. You get counted, not named. 12 slayers were lost securing the pass is a sentence some reader 100 years from now will skim past on the way to the part about the Hashira who turned the tide. You realize the tide was turned over your body and 11 others whose names nobody bothered to record even once. And that fact doesn't outrage you anymore. It just sits there, quiet and permanent, like weather. You're 24 when word comes down that Muzan's presence has been confirmed in your district. Your commander doesn't dress it up for you. He tells you plainly that you likely have less than a day before contact, and he tells you your job if it happens. Don't try to win. Don't even think about winning. Just survive long enough to get word out so the people who can actually hurt him have a chance to arrive in time. You spend the day doing small, ordinary things. You sharpen a blade you already suspect won't matter. You write a letter you don't expect anyone to send. You sit somewhere quiet and let the hours pass instead of fighting them. You're not brave about any of it. You're just present for it. And it turns out that being present is its own kind of labor nobody prepares you for. You're 25, and he never comes. Not to your stretch of road, not that week. Somewhere else, another unit takes the contact instead, and their names go into the same kind of report yours would have gone into. You keep serving. You train the next round of 13-year-olds who get told they've been chosen. You don't correct the word for them yet. Some truths are kinder left unsaid until the years teach them properly, the way they taught you. You're 26, still standing, still counted, still nobody the histories will bother naming. And somewhere in that plain, unglamorous fact, not a victory speech, not a shrine, just the sentence, "I am still here," said quietly to yourself at the end of another ordinary day, you find the only reward this life was ever going to give you. It isn't much, but it's yours, fully earned, and no one can revise it out of the record, because it was never in the record to begin with. It just happened to you, and you were there for all of it.